What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
Go! Get to the chopper!
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Diablo 4 will win Game of the Year. I'm pretty certain Blizzard have got an absolutely massive hit on their hands with this particular title. I've just had access for 2 weeks with a media pass. It's been a lot of fun playing the game. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, nothing spoiling about the campaign. We will have some gameplay footage in the background. It will pretty much be sorcerer gameplay because that was pretty much what I played from the start until as high as I could get in the time that I had. Who the hell am I? I am the Filthy Casual. I've been making Diablo 3 videos for about 3 or 4 years now.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
I have made some Diablo 2 Resurrected videos. I'm one of the few humans on planet Earth who enjoyed both those titles.
How dare you!
I grew up on Diablo 1, so fair to say Sanctuary is like a second home to me. I do enjoy this world, this universe, and these games. Now, as part of being a content creator, I do sometimes get perks. Blizzard will send me little bits here and there. I get early access to games, I get game codes. They recently sent me a Xbox Series X, which was greatly received. Thank you, Blizzard, for that. And I mention these things not to toot my own horn.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
But maybe to get a little bit of credibility, but also to make you aware that obviously my review is probably going to be a little bit biased. I will try my best not to be, but subconscious bias just is what it is. And of course, as a content creator for the game, I do have a vested interest in it succeeding. But I do hope I can give you a unique perspective on this because I am a casual gamer, I play a few hours every day, I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got an IRL job. So really, my content has always been pitched at people who can play kind of about 3 or 4 hours a day maximum, and that's kind of where I'm at with games. So the review is going to cover various areas. We're going to talk about the world that Blizzard have built for this game. We're going to talk about the campaign, of course, spoiler free. We're going to talk about the end game content, what is there to do after the campaign, how to progress a character, how deep that was, gearing, again looking at the depth, complexity, all those types of things, what we've got to look forward to in the future, seasons and support. We're going to compare it to Diablo 3 and Diablo 2. I'm going to talk a little bit about shop, microtransaction and pay to win. But before we do get going, let me know which class you're going to be playing on launch. I am tempted by the Sorcerer, having had a lot of fun playtesting that. Could be talked into Necromancer, could be talked into Druid. Let's face it, I could be talked into Rogue or Barbarian. It all looks like just a huge amount of fun. Alright, kicking us off, we've got the world of Sanctuary. If you played any of the betas, you did start to get a feel for this. It is dark, it is immersive. We've got snow, sand, swamps, blood, bodies, just the aesthetics, the feel, the music, the ambiance, just the quests, the characters, the whole thing is just absolutely perfect. It's gone much more towards Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, and much more away from the Diablo 3 kind of more, I guess, cartoony kind of feel to it. Now, there is a kind of sense of danger and peril in the world. There is just always things trying to kill you as you move around it. The world is absolutely massive. I can't stress just how big this world is. There are 5 main regions. Each region has got its separate central hub where you get your stash, you get all of your artisans to do your various things with your gear, gems, occultists, all that type of stuff. There's lots of different like side areas, so waypoints dotted around, again with little hubs and towns. And each area runs on its own renown system, so you can get skill points, potion capacity, you can get paragon points from completing renown activities in that area. And they will apply account-wide to extra characters. So when you start an alt, you can beef yourself up. Littered across the world of Sanctuary, we've got loads of dungeons. There's over 120. Each dungeon carries with it a particular legendary power that you can extract and put onto gear. You've got strongholds, which are like kind of miniature little levels where you have to go defeat some monsters, do a few objectives, and you will then basically liberate the stronghold, and that will then become a central hub for you potentially. And of course there are lots of pop-up events that just happen. and these are absolutely great for getting gear because this is how you mainly get your obols, which you spend gambling for gear. You can play on World Tier 1 or World Tier 2, so 2 difficulties, and as I say, the world is just, it's mind-bogglingly big. Even after completing the campaign, I think I'd probably only explored maybe 50-60% of the map, and I did kind of take my time with it a little bit. Moving us on to the campaign, no spoilers, I think you should experience this for yourself. I personally am not a campaign Andy, I generally skip them, I generally don't like them. I love stories, I love movies, I love TV shows. I just often find that video game campaigns can be quite cringe, and at times, I'll be honest, the campaign did frustrate me a little bit. There was certain missions where you had to find something inside quite a big circle, and you're looking around for it. There's a lot of travel involved, there's lots of dialogue, so at times it was a little bit slow. But by the end of the campaign, I will say, hand on heart, I was genuinely excited to jump back in and play it again. There's some absolutely fantastic, epic moments in it. I said to my wife when I was playing at one point, we're having this big boss battle with one of the bosses again, no spoilers. But I said to her, this is exactly as if someone has taken this monster I'm fighting straight out of my imagination. I couldn't have come up with anything better. This is just such a cool monster, and this is such a cool fight. Act 6 in particular, there are 6 acts to the campaign. The 6th act is absolute fire, cinematics excellent, the story really does kind of come together and pull together at the end. In terms of time, maybe 15 or 20 hours to play through the campaign. It was very hard to say. I've got slight ADD, so I was constantly stopping to clear dungeons. You can obviously make your builds better by targeting some of the dungeons for powers to put on gear. There are pop-up events, sellers. There's just a very nice organic feel to exploration as you're doing the campaign. You might just be like, ooh, there's a little pop-up over here. I'm going to go smash these monsters, grab some loot, and I'm going to go back and finish the campaign. One thing I would say is you get your mount at the end of Act 3, and it seems as though at the start you can do Act 1, then you can choose to do Act 2 or 3. I did them in order, so I didn't get to Act 3 until the end, but I think on a subsequent playthrough of the campaign, I'd see if I could at least skip out Act 2 to go to 3 first, and that way I could maybe pick up that mount a little bit earlier, because traversing the world, again, tying back into the point of it just being so absolutely massive, having the horse really does help. Now, the wonderful thing about the campaign is obviously I get that some people are into them, and I get that some people can't stand them at all. Once you've done it once, you can then forever skip it for the rest of your entire life. So your next character, you'll get a pop-up when you make it, and it will simply say, do you want to do the campaign, yes or no? And if you click no, it's irreversible, you can't go back and change your mind, and it will just dump you in Kyovashad, level 1 character, and you just play as if you were like an end game. This, incidentally, is how seasons are going to work, so if you do make a seasonal character in the first season, which we know is coming kind of mid-July, maybe early August, late July, that type of thing, then provided you've beaten the campaign once, you can just jump straight into endgame. So even if you absolutely hate campaigns guts, you don't have to do it. The end of the story does give room for more. It's clear there's going to be expansions. It's clear it's going to continue. And as I say, I'm quite excited to see where it goes, and I'm going to happily play through it. I think probably with all 5 of the characters on launch, because as I say, some of the moments were pretty good. After you beat the campaign, you're then going to unlock endgame, and definitely one of the most fun things was doing the Hell Tides. These unlock at World Tier 3, so you have to beat a cap dungeon. You have to get through this kind of like difficult dungeon to unlock World Tier 3, and then when you do, Hell Tides can spawn across Sanctuary, and this is basically just some super juiced up monsters that keep spawning. You kill them, you get rewards. You get these little ash shards that you then have to use to open up chests. Again, you can kind of target farm gear with these. I died a lot on World Tier 3, but this was a lot of fun. The main system is the Tree of Whispers, so you earn grim favours by doing certain objectives that are listed on the map for you. When you turn in 10 grim favours, you get a cache. You get to pick what the cache is from a choice of 3. Again, very good for target farming loot and improving your builds. And of course, you've got the full rest of the map to explore anything you didn't get done with the campaign, all the renown to get it from fully getting rid of the fog of war, and all the side quests. Also, at launch, we're going to have PvP. I didn't get a chance to PvP anybody on the media pass. There wasn't many players around. And we know we've got world bosses. We've done a Shava on the betas, and obviously there's another couple that are going to be at launch, but again, they weren't actually on the version that I played because again, there just wasn't the player base. But the Helltides and World Tier 3 was a really big jump up. It did feel significantly harder, which I guess is good because the difficulty throughout the playthrough was probably on point. I played the first 30 levels on World Tier 2 and then swapped down to World Tier 1. I tried a couple of different builds. I tried Frozen Orb, I tried Hydra, ended up settling on Chain Lightning. And once you do get up to 50, you do get to World Tier 3, you start getting Sanctified Gear, which is just better gear, and again we'll talk about the gear in a little bit, but I can see the game is going to take a long time to get to World Tier 4, and then obviously, you know, we don't know what's going to be coming in the future. Also at end game we're going to get Nightmare Dungeons. You have to find Nightmare Dungeon keys or sigils that will allow you to go into a dungeon. There'll be modifiers on it and make it harder. I didn't actually find one at the time of recording this review. I'm just about to go on holiday for a few days to rest up before D4, so again that's something really I'm looking forward to trying. There are unique monsters that spawn across the world that you can fight and kill over and above. So you think of like the Butcher, but there's other ones as well that just randomly appear on the map in like events. You've got all the Lilith statues to collect, all the side quests to finish off, and really I think to get the full map fully explored, to get all the side quests done, to get all the statues found, all unique monsters, world boss beats, there's so much content here to start off with. I really do think the end game is going to be in a pretty good spot just for like the base of the game. So moving us along to character progression, level 50 is when you stop getting skill points. There are absolutely plenty, and respecking is actually quite cheap, provided you sell some of your gear as you go. You will have enough gold to respec kind of as many times as you want, so in some ways that takes the pressure off of making a build. I get for some people that'll be a bit of a negative because with the respecking there is no kind of like permanency of choice. I think they could maybe make respecking more expensive, but at the end of the day we've got to try and find a kind of balance here for the casual players who want to like maybe try out a few skills, swap them back and that sort of thing. At 50 you stop gaining levels and you don't stop gaining levels, you stop gaining skill points, and you get Paragon points per level as you progress up to level 100. I incidentally found a level 73 monster in a Helltide. I was level 50, it completely handed my ass to me, and yeah, again, growing this character I think is going to be a lot of fun. Paragon system looks very interesting. They're linking Paragon boards. You choose your path along the current board you're on. You then choose the board you jump to next. They've all got different nodes. There's glyphs to socket in. There's going to be glyphs to find to put in there. Building a character is definitely going to be a long and arduous process, but it's going to be fun. It is going to have some permanency. I think, you know, once you've got your Paragon board locked in and you've got your gear, you've invested in it, so on and so forth. So building a character, it's not like Diablo 3, it's not very cookie cutter. I mean, it might well be we'll end up playing the same build, but we're going to have different gear and different Paragon choices, I'm guessing. In terms of alts and making other characters, I personally like making lots of characters in these kind of ARPG games. You do get a few bonuses, so some of the skill points from your renown, Paragon points from your renown carry over, but Paragon isn't shared between characters anymore. That's a pretty big difference from D3. Looking at the gear, I actually really loved this. Now on the beta at first look it didn't look like the gearing was going to be complex or particularly amazing, but actually I think it is a lot deeper than actually it looks. So one of the main core components is the occultist, and you can either conquer dungeons to get aspects which you can then imprint on any rare gear to make it legendary, or you can find legendary items and extract the imprint and then put it on something different. Now you can't put any power in any slot. Generally speaking, the damage ones can go on gloves, on your weapons and rings and amulets, and you know the defensive ones can go on like boots and trousers and stuff like that. So you can't just put anything anywhere.
That's what she said.
You do have to be a little bit tactical about it. You also can't just keep flipping a power, so if you find a good legendary with a good legendary power on it, you can't take it off, put it on a piece of gear, take it off, put it on a piece of gear. You can't just keep the same power the whole way through, you'll have to find a few copies of it. But the dungeon system does kind of alleviate that, because some of those dungeon powers, once you've got the aspect once, you can just keep putting it on gear, provided you've got enough materials to do so. So as you're gearing out a character, you're always looking for good base items, you're always looking for plus to skills. Like I was running chain lightning for ages, so I was looking for lightning damage, and I'm always trying to check items, think, is this worth keeping? Could I perhaps imprint a power on this? Is it better than what I've got? And stuff like that. You can upgrade your gear at the blacksmith, make it more powerful, make the stats better. And all in all, there are some interesting gearing choices, because you might have like a much lower level like ring, like a level 20 ring with a really good legendary power that you can't get from a dungeon, and you might have already imprinted it once, so you know that you can't take that power off and imprint it again, and it might well be the case that you actually keep that even at like level 50 or whatever. So the gearing, I think there is actually a subtlety of choice here. Don't get me wrong, you just slap on the higher power items, but ultimately to make a kind of perfected build, you kind of, as I say, always looking for bases, always looking for legendary powers, and that's great because it makes anything that drops potentially interesting. And that kind of goes back to Diablo 2, as in the gearing in that game is much better than Diablo 3 in some respects, because almost anything that drops has the potential to be useful. You just have to pick it up and look at it, whereas Diablo 3, a lot of the gear is just straight up trash. There's obviously plenty of legendary powers. As I'm moving through the world tier difficulties, starting to get unique items. They're going to be the build defining ones. Only found one unique item so far, so again I'm excited to find some more of them, and I think again with the gearing going into the Paragon boards and the character skill selection, I think all of this is basically getting to the point of it's going to take a decent amount of time to have a well built character and to unlock that max potential, which is kind of what we want in an ARPG. You want this kind of like long tail to a character to make it a lot of fun to progress. Moving us past what we've got now, we also know we're going to get seasons and support. So we know there's a season coming in probably a couple of months. That's going to have some kind of mechanic that might come into the main game, might not come into the main game. Each season is going to be unique and different. There are 2 separate teams working on each season, so each team will come up with 2 seasons a year, and that way we do every 3 months get a fresh slate of the characters and more stuff to do. So comparing the game to Diablo 3, I think it's clear that the gear is certainly much deeper, the character building is much deeper. Whilst you can respec, it's not quite as on the fly and easy as Diablo 3, it does come with a cost. But ultimately, I don't think these things are going to be off-putting to casual players. Everything in the game is explained fairly well, it's fairly intuitive to pick up, and there is obviously so much more to do at endgame than there is at Diablo 3, and seasons are definitely going to be better. Looking at a comparison from Diablo 2, well, there isn't quite the permanency of choice when you're making your builds, but there is a much similar skill tree to Diablo 2. I do also think that the plus to skills and some of the gearing aspects actually follow on as well, which is kind of nice. So it looks a little bit kind of like somewhere in between the two, almost in a way, with, again, this maybe... I mean, I'm just guessing here. It could be 50, it could be 100 hours to finish off a character to level 100. But again, that feels much more like Diablo 2, as in, you play your character up, you beat all 3 difficulties of the game, and then from there you're looking to improve your gear and just kind of get your character up to, obviously 99 is the max there, and it does take quite a while. Not many players actually get themselves finished with a 99 character each season, so it will be interesting to see if D4 is similar, and there are very few of these 100 level characters kicking around each season. But overall, there is lots to do. The world is beautiful, it is dark, it is fantastic fun to play. Combat is, of course, silky smooth. Lots of different monsters, lots of different variety of things to do in the game. And overall, I think the base game is launching in a pretty good state, and if we continue to develop it every 3 months with new seasons, new content and expansions, I think this is going to be a very popular game for Blizzard, and I do think it will win Game of the Year. Shop, pay to win, microtransactions, none of that was accessible in the beta that we played, or the media version of the game. Blizzard have committed publicly several times to say there is no pay to win in this game. It is just cosmetic stuff only. So we will see. We'll see how it progresses. I hope this game gets the support that Diablo 3 frankly didn't during its life cycle, because I think if we can get support, we can end up much more in a Path of Exile type content generation, whereby every 3 months there's a new season and there's something fun and interesting to do, and it means that we're going to want to make character after character and keep playing this game for many years to come. That's my hope. Right, that has been my informal review slash why it's going to win the Game of the Year. I'm sure plenty of people will call me a shill for making this video. Genuinely, I enjoyed the game. I'm going to look forward to making a lot of content for it moving forwards, and I hope to see you in Sanctuary. Take it easy, guys. Peace.